Hello, my name is Martin, and this is Let's Play Loren the Amazon Princess. Loren is an RPG slash visual novel, so be warned, it's going to be quite a bit of reading ahead. It was released April 2012, but on Steam January 2014. And it was published and developed by Winterwolves. The game is now available for purchase for $19.99. Now, to be honest with you guys, when I first got this game, I wasn't expecting much, but I was kind of pleasantly surprised by what I found. Now, before I get too far into this, I want to feel like I should share something with you. I feel this game is very reminiscent of Dragon Age. What do I mean by that? Well, for one, obviously, Loren is very stylized as far as graphics go. Any fan of anime isn't really going to be surprised by what they find here. But those who are uninitiated, who are unaware, may be kind of shocked by the style of the game, the amount of skin you'll see. Also, the game treats you like you're an adult. If you can't handle suggestive themes like romance, then the game may not be for you. What I find hilarious, though, and I'm trying to stay unbiased here, is that every time I go onto the forums, I see people blasting this game. But they're so quick to dismiss it, but are perfectly okay with mass murdering or exploding people's heads. But romance or a stylized fantasy universe is smut. Whatever. Point is, the game treats you like you're an adult. Why I make Dragon Age comparisons, I will show you a little bit later on. They have kind of like this camp feature where you go to talk to your party members. And to me, it seems like the game takes some serious inspirations from that. I have played this game to Chapter 3. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys two things with this game. One is the character creator, which I think is kind of a neat way of going about things. And then a little bit later on in the game, a little bit of combat and how the party system management and all that works. For the purposes of this game review, for this purpose of this video, I'm going to be skipping quite a bit of text, especially when I try to get to the combat. So I'm going to go ahead and load up, I'm going to start up a game here. I'm going to go, there's two kind of ways you can play. There's tactics and standard. It affects how the game starts off. I'm going to go ahead and start with standard. But tactics basically lets you have a little bit more control of your character and how you go about creating your characters in the game. Inside the monastery, there's only one room lit on this late hour, just enough light to see the empty pages of a thick book. A hooded monk leans over the desk inside with quill in hand. I am the monk. I am here to write a tale so epic that I cannot sleep until it is told. So here I write the tale of the Amazon Princess Loren. I start this tale from the very beginning, back in time when the world was blissfully unaware of the turmoil to come. We begin high in the mountains, deep in a mighty forest. A sword slices the head of a training dummy clean off and falls in pieces around the feet of a tall, raven-haired woman. Every morning the servants would mend the training equipment so that it may be destroyed again by the princess's hand during the next training session. One sword was not enough for this fierce warrior. No, she considered a shield dead weight and an empty hand a death wish. Princess Sword would only fight with a sword in each hand. Where are the other dummies? There are none left, by grace. She was displeased to learn that her training would end so early today. She crossed her arms and stared down at her attending servants. Then perhaps one of you should fetch a sword. The slaves gulped in unison after having witnessed what damage their princess could do. But before anyone could move, the piercing cry of Griffin fell from the skies. Just then a messenger ran into the training grounds, panting for breath. Princess Loren, the captain, she has returned. Alone, your majesty. Loren broke into a run. She ran as fast as she could into the main square outside the citadel. The Amazon scouts had landed with their griffins just as she arrived. The captain of the guard, Briza, looked extremely grave as she approached her. Loren knew instantly the news the scouts carried would not be a routine report. Your Majesty, tell me. The scout stepped forward and placed a hand over her heart in salute. Queen Karen has been lost. Loren's face grew pale. She disappeared in the night, and as for now... Anyways, this is just kind of explaining the start of the story. Loren is obviously a princess. Her mother's disappeared, and you kind of have to, at least for the first chapter, go and find her mother. So I'm going to go ahead and just skip a lot of this text. I actually want to get to the part where they kind of introduce your character. This is just them explaining how she disappeared and how that all happened. And it's part of the story, essentially. You want to read this, but I want to show you the character creator, which is why I got to this point anyways. So anyways, you're now officially allowed to select your hero, and each character has their own past, their own history involved in it. So there's quite a bit of replay value. One of them is a character called Saren, who was my first character, who you'll see a little bit later on. He's a human male. He's been a slave his entire life, born from a captured Imperial soldier, And then we have Eleanor here, a female elf. She traded her freedom for the protection at a very young age. I'm going to pick Eleanor for the sakes of this video. And then you have 2 classes you're allowed to choose from, warrior or thief. Now, I kind of have a little bit of a tiff about this. Warrior is pretty much the class you're going to want to pick. Thief is okay. You can go ahead and pick thief, but for the most part, you're not going to want to. Well, I mean, you can pick thief and you can make a bow-like character and sit in the back row and shooting, but that's basically what you're going to be doing with your thief. You're basically going to be shooting a bow. So I would suggest picking a warrior. You can pick anything you want. But there's another reason for that. Is because when you pick your warrior class, you will be... you have a side class, kind of like an extra, like a prestige class almost. And the prestige class lets you... Your prestige class is hero. And the prestige class's hero basically is there to support everyone else in the party, which I'll show you a little bit later on. Anyways, these are your stats here. You got strength, skill, and will, and all of it's very straightforward. It's all very well explained. The way the pop-ups come up, it explains everything all very straightforward. I'm just going to go ahead and really, you can dump points into other things, but otherwise, I just dump them straight into strength. But anyways, I have served you and Her Majesty dutifully at the... You kind of go about creating a character by answering questions. I've served Her Majesty dutifully at the healer's quarters, training grounds, or the royal palace. I'll say the training grounds. As a combat instructor, she began teaching only the younglings, but she was soon instructing even some elders. Raise your face to me. Yes, I do recognize you. You have met my blade before. I've had the many pleasures of sparring with your highness. Loren smirked to herself. You were one of the difficult ones. Most do not last that long against me. Gain +2 strength. She shows the lineage of great warriors when she battles others. She has displaced her elder predecessor in the training grounds easily, making her the youngest sparring master in our history. How did you manage such a feat? Speak. I can hold my own in battle. For the last several annual proving competitions, I've been sponsored to enter and have won many titles. So as you can see, you kind of start answering questions and it kind of alters the way your stats go. For this year's proving, I was granted top place in the Magic Trials, the Targets Challenge, the Arena. Well, obviously, you get the idea of how this works. Depending on your answer, you get points for a stat. So, I think it's kind of neat how they go about it. It's kind of a unique way to create a character. I showed my loyalty by giving her a powerful sword. I learned to forge weaponry and create a sword just for her, since I would trust no other smith to know my mistress better than I. With my sword, she cut down her enemies easily, bringing her great honor. And obviously now we have almost a 16th strength. Should you give me one for reward for my service? I will go ahead and say a enchanted ring. She granted me her heirloom ring, which was only jewelry to her, but when I placed it on my finger, I felt a great surge in magical power. And I got the Ring of Speed. And her loyalty does not end there, Your Highness. Eleanor has demonstrated an act of true servant of the Citadel. I was approached by another slave. They spoke of fantastic lands and city life from the Citadel. I associated this person to be the point that he confided me in a plan to escape. He wished for me to come with him, and I refused, but helped him free him, reported him to authorities, convinced him not to escape. I needed only to explain to him the benefits of staying and how marvelous the Citadel already was. He would have surely been helpless if he left our walls, so I attempted to save his life, and thankfully he listened. Such a skilled tongue will likely be very used to us on your travels. And I got some will there, obviously. So you kind of get the idea. It gives you the option, of course, if you didn't like the answers, you could start over, or you can continue on with your character. My life is yours. So you get the idea how the character creation works. I think it's a very neat way they go about letting you create your character. This is chapter 1. This is the rescue. Like I said, I'm a little bit later on in the chapter. The game has obviously RPG element to it all, kind of a combat system. Now, it's not that difficult to win in combat. So you can go ahead and pick easy if you're afraid. If you really want to just relax and kind of just sit back, pick easy. If you want a bit of a challenge, pick normal. If you're looking for something that's going to be at least a good challenge, pick hard. All right, so let's see if I can show you something here. This is what I was talking about. You kind of have two skill trees here, hero and warrior, and this basically is your, guess you could say, your skill tree. And each, basically, you get a point towards this every 2 levels, and you could pick a new skill. I start off with life 1, and that's basically it. But this is where you kind of you get your customization of your character. You can pick your equipment. Let's see here. You can pick your equipment, modify your character, kind of like a paper doll-esque thing here. Your attributes, your stats. And of course, you can pick your other party members and see how you can equip them, and etc., etc., etc. Also, there's a bit of a quest log here, explains some things for you. You have your save, load. What does this button do? This is just give you kind of a quick run through of things if you don't know what everything is. Very handy dandy all in all. So yeah, basically you start off your quest. Basically, another thing, you kind of have to arrange your party, and this is kind of how you go into combat. You'll see a little bit later on. You'll be seeing that screen quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and actually load up one of my later on games to get you somewhat deeper into the game. This is literally probably a good 2 to 3 hours into the game itself. And I've collected quite a few party members up to at this point. And yeah, you can kind of get an idea. This is my guy, Saren. This is I picked Thief with this class. And I have a mage and an archer and 2 mages and a dwarf, and I'm kind of deep into the game. The game has several features, guys. It has really cool graphics. Music is fantastic. There's a town fame thing, which you basically can do tasks for the town. For instance, fight street thugs. And if you accomplish this task, you will actually go ahead and get, I guess you could say, reputation with that town, and prices will be cheaper in that town. So I'm going to show you really quick here the combat system. This is essentially the combat system here you're looking at. And you click on an enemy portrait and a little thing pops up to the left here, and it shows you what actions you can take place. For instance, melee attack, ranged attack, aim shot. Now the aim shot is kind of a skill, and it takes a little bit longer to use. You basically use it, and then you kind of or put behind in the movement order here. Which, by the way, the movement order is kind of you can't really modify it. You can add abilities that make you faster, so you can go more turns, but in general, that's basically the way the combat's going to go down. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot this guy. And then it goes to the next person, Saren here, who I at this point had as a frontline fighter, even though he was a thief. You can also click yourself, and other things will appear like use item and defend. And then you finally get to your spellcaster character, who's Draco right here. And he basically has several spells to use. In general, spellcasters kick a lot of ass in this game. He has Fire 1 and Fire 2. I'm going to go ahead and just use, let's go with Fire 2. As you can see, that hits everybody, but it does use a bit of his magic points for the combat. He has Paralyze and Inferno. I'm going to go ahead and use Inferno. And there's different effects, I guess you could say, status effects that your character can have on them. For instance, this character is now staggered. It reduces the target's attributes, value depending on the difficulty level, exposes him to advanced attacks available to warriors and thieves. So now that he's been exposed, my character can actually, well, if I had the backstab ability, which I thought I did, would allow me to use thief-like abilities and kind of kill him efficiently, use my abilities. Loren has several status effects on her. You can also have abilities that can cure status effects as well. She's scared, she's confused, she's been kind of messed up pretty badly. But she's still capable of attacking, so yeah. Rain of Arrows. Again, every class, every character you meet is going to have their own set of abilities. And it adds a lot of customization to the game, guys. Every character you can train up a different way through each playthrough, and won't necessarily be the exact same way you play it last time. I think it's really neat. One thing that one tidbit I do have with the game is right here on the bottom right of the game, it has this giant restart button. And if you didn't like the way your battle was going, and let's say you were losing, all you would have to simply do is click this restart button and start all over again. Now, I understand why that is there as far as the purposes of mechanics go. What it does end up doing, though, for me, is it really doesn't give me any kind of element of fear. I don't fear that I'm going to lose, because if I start losing, all I have to do is hit the restart button and try a different tactic. So it's more of a nitpick in my case. It's not necessarily anything negative. It just, to me, it's like it just takes away that element of fear. You can also obviously adjust the speed of the combat. You can make it slower, faster, access your inventory, but in general, you get the idea. Every time you win a battle, you're brought to this screen where you can level up a character. You get gold and loot, and then the level up screen happens here. Now, the level up screen is pretty simplistic and explanatory. You get skill points. You can divide them any way you like. Depending on your class, of course, you're going to want to favor one thing over the other. For instance, Draco here, he's a caster. He obviously has Fireball, Earthquake, Phantom Form, Tornado, Blizzard. He also has a base class, which is his Mage class, which gives him other access to other abilities like Concentration, Haste, Clarity, Cure, and Tranquilize. But in general, I always try to spend my skill points in their specific tree, their character-specific tree. He's an Elementalist. He uses elemental spells. You can also just hit auto-assign. It'll just do it for you. If you're like, I don't want to think about it, just screw it. It'll take care of it for you. So there you go. You get kind of an idea. We gained 1 infamy point. You can also go into towns and shop and buy items, which you can use to go ahead, of course, upgrade your different kinds of party members. All you have to do if you want to know who can use what, let's say this old wizard-looking guy here, he can't obviously use any of these weapons, but if I click on my guy, he can use some of the weapons, and Loren can use all of the weapons. And it kind of is the same way for armor and potions and magical items and what have you. Of course, you can go ahead and sell items back to the vendors and get some stuff back and collect loot, and you get the general idea here. Is there anything else to show you here? No, that's basically it as far as that goes. There's just quite a bit of customization for each character, guys. One run through will not be the same as any others. There's a lot of items, there's town tasks, there's a lot of replayability here for the combat system. While it isn't necessarily the most robust combat system, it's really good, solid combat system. It's good. It's not very, I don't know, there isn't a lot of oomph to it. Anyways, I'm going to try to leave the town here, and we're basically on our way to try to find Loren's mother. We've ran into a human empire that doesn't exactly have the same standards as the Amazons do, and this is where you kind of get into the nitty-gritty of it all. And what I love about this game is that, yes, it has really good characters in it. It's very familiar is what I'm trying to say. When you see a wizard, you know what to expect. When you see a dwarf, you know what to expect. There's old familiars here. So in that aspect, I really like that. It's a good fantasy universe. It's solid. What the game does have, which does make me laugh, is there is a little bit, it almost reads sometimes as like a romance novel, almost. And if you get the game, you'll see what I'm talking about. There's sometimes some of the lines that develop. For instance, this barbarian-esque dude to the left here with his chest all out is making my character, Saren, all butthurt because he thinks he's a threat to Loren. Because my character is a little bit of a thing for Loren, obviously. So my character kind of gets all butthurt when this Mukiki character gets near him, and you start getting these facial expression changes, and it's kind of funny the way the characters interact is what I'm trying to get at. So Amuki here is going to join our party. I'm just going to hit auto assign here, and you can also do the same thing for skills. It'll auto assign his skills if you don't want to have to think about it, and it'll be done. So I'm going to go ahead and skip a lot of this text here. I want to get to some of the other features of this game here. There's party management, there's customization to each character, like I said. And then you come to the camp screen. And the camp screen is where I've said this game really reminds me of Dragon Age, because this is where you're primarily, I mean, aside through the general storyline, you'll romance your characters, you'll do side quests for your characters, and interact with your characters. So for instance, I'll go over here and talk to Loren. Saren, yes, mistress. The blade is dull and I need you to sharpen it. She held out the ember blade and his jaw dropped. It is too distracting for me to do it myself. She was referencing how the sword glowed at her touch. Yes, of course, I will tend it for you. It would be a great honor to service this weapon. It's just a sword like any other, Saren frowned. You still do not believe in the history of the sword or the holy relic? It glows. Many things glow in this world. A night fly glows, but it is not a divine intervention. And again, This game basically gives you a lot of interaction features. You can choose to be joking, friendly, or kind of forceful, and it adds a lot of that replayability value. You could be completely a total smartass through the entire game, pick every joking. You could be an asshole and pick forceful through the entire game. It just adds, I think, a lot of replay value in how you interact with the characters. We cannot understand the gods, no, but this sword is imbued with magic, their gift. Oops, hold on. You could also scroll up on, let's say you accidentally just skipped like that. You could actually scroll up on your button and go back up to what you were reading for. It is imbued with magic, it's a gift, it must mean something. Magical weapons are forged every day, you're right, but this is but a sword in all hands but yours. I believe you are a hero that Aravorn needs, and that you are beyond worthy to be a divine voice. It doesn't matter what you think of the sword. I know you are those things. Loren sighed and crossed her arms, but she could not reply. So you get the idea. You come here, you kind of interact with your party, Dragon Age style. Scenes will take place as you enter and come in and out of camp, which will alter your relationship status with your characters. Now, this is where a lot of people have a little bit of an issue. Under the options, normally right here, there is a suggestive content button in the normal version of the game. Now, what I don't understand is why Steam felt the need to take it out, or why they took it out when they added it on Steam. I don't really understand that, but right here there is a suggestive content button, and it kind of also changes the art style quite a bit. Why they did this, I don't really understand. I guess maybe Steam had issues with them. There was some sort of a mix-up. I have no idea why, but it does change quite a bit. And if you look at the forums, there's ways to get around that. You can actually bring that feature back into the game without really much effort on your part. I'm not going to say that because, I don't know if that's what the developer wanted, and it's not my place to say. So yeah, just there's a romance part of the game where you can kind of pick a character. The game is also, you can be gay if you want. You could say, hey, you know what? I want to hit on Draco. And that option is available to you. So what I'm trying to say is it has that adult theme to it. You can be straight, you can be gay, you can romance who you want. Now, in the end, you will have to pick one character. No matter what. You're going to have to say, well, I want to be with Loren, I want to be with Draco, I want to be with who have you by the end of the game. You will have to pick one character, and then that storyline will progress itself forward. So the game, while it takes itself very seriously, it treats you like an adult, and I think that's a very important thing to note. This game is not in any way smut-filled, though. I don't want you to get that impression. So you basically come to this world map screen right here, guys, and you can go about the world and explore the game. And there's also random battles you can sometimes run into if you go from area to area. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. It really depends on the kind of the random luck of the draw. But yeah, there's party manager, customization, classes, items, town tasks, romance. There's good characters, familiar concepts in this game, guys. I really enjoyed this game, guys. I thought it was a fun game. In the end, Loren is a great game, but you aren't going to find massive explosions or mind-blowing effects. What you will find is fun story, fun characters, and a decent combat system. Loren accomplishes what it set out to do, and that was make a fun game. If you think you could do better than this, be my guest. Yes, there's a lot of reading, but I grew up playing MUDs, multi-user dungeons, so I was used to this kind of thing. I appreciate the story, and I appreciate these kinds of things. Is it for everybody? No. But for me, I enjoyed it. Yes, it can read a little bit like a romance novel, especially when you do it in a super sexy voice. But it isn't necessarily a bad thing, and there's sometimes that actually made me laugh. So if you're on the fence if you should pick up Loren or not, I will sum it up for you. If you like visual novels with a light RPG backdrop, then get this game. It has a good story. There's a lot here to explore. There's a lot of replayability value, guys. It's a great game. Big thanks to the developer for a chance to review this game. Like, subscribe, share for future IndieView games. I really would appreciate it. And it would give me a heart for you. A little bit of a Loren joke there. Wink, wink. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this review. This has been Let's Play Loren the Amazon Princess. I'm not Gandalf!